This is episode number 80, How to Avoid and Alleviate Debilitating Muscle Pain. Welcome everybody to another episode here in Body and Mind Transformation by Custom Body Fitness. This is your health coach Sandro Torres, and today we have Adam Holland. This is a local chiropractor who specializes on muscle pain. He is so good on helping you relieve a lot of your pain because he understands that some of our muscles do get adhered when they start getting overused or because of a previous injury. So there is some adhesion in your muscles from previous injuries, sometimes because the movement is so repetitive that the body develops to protect the muscle, and then you start losing mobility. And when you start losing mobility and then you try to do something, your body starts sending signals of pain, and at the same time you can injure yourself because you don't have the mobility. Anyway, he is the expert on this. I'm not. I know some of this, but I learned a lot from him. So I really recommend you listen to his talks and understand how can you help yourself to avoid debilitating pains that actually denote muscle soreness. It's not a chronic injury, but it's something that you should take care of so you don't have any debilitating pain and you have the motivation to exercise and continue losing weight and gaining muscle. So without further more introduction, let's listen to Adam Holland or Dr. Holland. At CBF, we know that for you to change your body, you need to change your mind. Exercise and eating healthy is only part of the plan. We care about our members as we care about our family, because our members become our family. It is not about competition, but support. It is not about being the strongest or the fastest, but about you defeating your negative self. It is about working together and making the task challenging and have fun. By the end, what matters is not how hard the session was, but that you take control of your mind so you can take control of your body. My name is Sandro Torres, and I'm happy you are part of our family. Welcome to Custom Body Fitness.
We're going to talk about injuries and weight loss. First of all, congrats on everyone for making it for the fourth week. I must say you all look 10 pounds healthier. So let's get to know each other a little bit better first. How many of you recently or currently are dealing with an injury? This could be pain, weakness, tight muscles, limited flexibility. Let's get them high. Don't be shy. Okay, good. So we're all humans and we're all dealing with gravity. Pretty normal. We all break down with age and use. It's how fast is up to you though. So what that starts with is how well you take care of yourself. Diet, exercise, making smart choices. And it ends with quality healthcare and a support team like Sandro. So do any of you have previous injuries that are from like trauma? So a sprained ankle, throw out your back, or ski injury on the hill? No one? Man, you guys are lucky. Good. So one of these factors is a big predictor for future injuries is a previous one, especially trauma. So what I'm here to help you guys do is avoid future injuries. So why injuries and weight loss? I'm going to use myself for a personal example here. I'm 30 years old. I've been dealing with back pain for over 5 years. This stems from having to sit in class for 20 years, playing college football, and admittedly lifting like an idiot in the gym, trying to be a hero and get those beach muscles. So pain crushes your motivation to work out. All the stuff that Sandro's talked about. You avoid certain movements, you can't go to a certain weight, you get the fear of either making your injury worse or re-injuring it and having to come back, which is not cool. So for the last 10 years or so, my weight has been that roller coaster that they've been talking about. The importance of this is that exercise carries over into a ton of other aspects in life if you haven't found the common theme that Sandro is trying to enlighten you guys on. It's just easier to skip a workout, eat a whole thing of ice cream, and then go, yeah, I'll get after it tomorrow. And a side note, I've been one of Ben & Jerry's best customers over the years. But there's only so many tomorrows. How many of those have already gone by that you said tomorrow was going to be the day? So when it comes to injuries and exercise, or weight loss and exercise, simply put, it's really, really difficult to lose weight, work out while you're injured. At the very least, it's 10 times more difficult than being healthy, and eventually it can become very self-limiting. So our focus tonight is going to be more on how injuries occur, how to prevent them, and the proper rehab. Because the goal, as has been mentioned tonight, is it's about a lifelong habit of being able to work out. It's not just this year, it's about being able to stay active for life. But there's a difference between exercise soreness and pain. So we're going to differentiate that. Soreness from a workout, totally normal. Truly what you're doing is tearing the muscle fibers so you can build them back up and get stronger. The extreme example of this is like Arnold, like he mentioned. That's day in and day out, he's going for size. So that only generally lasts for about 2 or 3 days. You know, you feel a little bit off, a little bit sore, a little bit stiff, totally normal. Then you adapt, you recover, and this is totally normal after you do a new routine, you hit a higher rep range or something like that. So how do you tell the difference between that and when something's going wrong? Actual pain from tissue damage, it starts off coming and going. You kind of start to notice a little recurrence in there. It gradually becomes more consistent, more frequent, more intense, and it lasts a little bit longer each time. Generally, it's going to be in the same body region. So if you've hurt your shoulder or something, that goes away, and then your neck starts to hurt. Or knee issue, your ankles or your hips start to hurt. All of that kind of points to more than just your general soreness. You don't exercise once and all of a sudden you're in shape. I mean, that'd be awesome if that's how it worked, but unfortunately it's not. Being healthy requires a consistent routine of working out, eating healthy, doing all that. And again, the common theme from tonight and this whole seminar is it's not the one thing, it's the one thing over time. So you just need to be doing the right things more often than not to get weight loss and to maintain that. So great example, do you want to avoid cavities? You brush your teeth. Probably every day, at least I hope so. Feel rested and not be like this guy? You want to get a good night's sleep every single night. The point is, positive habits yield positive results. So healthy routines are built on consistency. However, most injuries that people experience are from overuse. No matter how clumsy you think you are, trauma is pretty rare. So it's the gradual wear and tear from doing a little bit more than your body can handle each day over time. And pain is really the best indicator of overuse. So these are on your sheets. I'm not sure if you'll be able to read them, but hopefully they look a little bit better up here. So the difference between medicine and poison lies in the dose, how much you do. This graph shows what we call hormesis, otherwise just known as a bell curve. But what it represents is doing not enough, like they mentioned, Sandro mentioned. If you're not doing anything, your bones get weaker, you start to get more fragile, things like that happen. That's the left side of the graph when you're doing basically nothing. So it should go down the other way as not enough. However, what you want to shoot for is getting up into that green sweet spot. So this is where, like Dr. Feinzinger mentioned, about 3 times a week, 30 minutes, that's good for most people. What happens though, if you start pulling 2-a-days, you start working out 6-7 days a week and don't give yourself a chance to recover, is you start getting on the right side of the graph where you get the diminished returns. You may think that ramping up your routine is going to get you in shape faster. It will, but at the cost of your long-term health. So that's where the diminishing returns come. And then you can see on the harmful dose, if you're working out with Sandro every thing that he's got, 5, 6, 7, 8 every single day, you're gonna beat yourself up faster and you're gonna get in shape. So just a little conceptual stuff. So the other part is, this is basically what happens when you work out. So the red circle is where you're at right now. You wake up tomorrow, you dig a hole by working out. And by that is where we're talking about tearing those muscle fibers and trying to get back out of it. So how far you dig that hole depends on the intensity, the duration, how hard you're going in the gym. Now the magic happens at B, where you recover. So this is, like it says on there, your genetics, nutrition, stress, rest, all of that stuff. That's gonna dig you back out of the hole. Ideally, to keep losing weight, gain muscle, get stronger, all that, is at the C point, which is what we call supercompensation. That's basically just getting back to baseline and doing all the right things that you gain a little bit. You lose a pound, you get a little bit stronger, you get a little bit more tone. Then, if you don't do anything again, you decondition and you go back down to where you normally were if you were just gonna be a couch potato. So you wanna return to baseline, but keep your baseline building up. So the point is, in this graph, a lot of people dig themselves a hole and never get out of it over time. So, don't I need to keep moving to lose weight though? It's a great question. You guys are a smart crowd. Yeah, burning calories requires consistent movement. That's just how it is. But the art of health, longevity, and a pain-free life lies in moderation. Being at the top of that bell curve and not too much on one side or the other. And making sure that you're getting out of the hole that you dig with your workouts. So the other part is, the exercises are great. Sandro and all these guys do a great job at the gym, but it's always gonna be dominant by diet, meaning that it's always 80-20 or somewhere in that ballpark in terms of losing weight, gaining strength, all that stuff. Don't get me wrong, the 20% is very, very important, but you can't outwork a bad diet. So you guys already have all that knowledge from these last few weeks, so kudos on the other presenters for giving you all that good information. So being able to exercise is the primary requisite. As we mentioned, if you can't move because it hurts, you're not gonna go and work out. And it's difficult to do as your injuries get more severe. So weight loss is truly about preventing injuries so you can keep moving and making sure that you rehab from the ones that you already have so you can continually work out. It should be a lifelong habit, as mentioned, and what I am for most people in my practice is an advocate for them, for their future self. And sometimes it's a tough pill for people to swallow. If you want to run a marathon and your back can't handle it, it's my job to at least tell you about that. So what I want to institute for you guys is the idea of having your own advocate for your future self so that you can keep working out, keep hanging out with Sandro, keep eating all the healthy stuff. How to prevent an injury? Well, you have to understand your risk, and how you do that is by measuring your mobility. And by mobility, I mean flexibility, range of motion, basically can your muscles stretch and do one of their primary jobs. So I'm gonna draw an analogy here for you guys with the blood pressure. Your mobility is like blood pressure, in that when you have limited mobility, it's like having high blood pressure. So why is high blood pressure bad? Because it damages the blood vessels in your cardiovascular system. It increases the risk of stroke and heart disease. Limited mobility damages muscles and joints and increases your risk of tendon tears, degeneration, and arthritis. So mobility is your number one predictor of injury risk. So why is that? When you decrease your mobility, you increase your injury risk, whereas blood pressures increase and increase. And why is that? So you don't need symptoms to be at risk with either of these. You can have limited mobility and not know about it. You can have high blood pressure and not know about it. But if you go in and see a doctor and he's like, it's 150 over 100, he's not gonna go, oh, you're good because you're not dizzy yet. That's not how it works. So how do you test yourself? How do you test mobility? I have videos on my website that show basically from head to toe what healthy mobility is supposed to look like. And these aren't some human pretzel position that you need to get in. These are the most fundamental, functional, and important range of motions that your body has to do every day. So on that note, let's check your guys' musculoskeletal blood pressure. Let's stand up for a second. So we're going to do 2 simple tests here. So get some room, space out a little bit. This will only take a minute. Okay, so what you're going to do is stand about shoulder width apart. You're not going to lock your knees out, but you're also not going to bend them very much, so just slightly unlocked. Then you're going to bend over like you're diving into a pool and go down as far as you comfortably can. So go ahead and do that. And do some of you feel like you have to bend your knees the closer you get to the ground? Good. Okay, pretty healthy for that. So that's one of the most functional tests that you can do. You cannot have a healthy low back if you can't bend down and touch the floor. There's nothing crazy about this. But some people can't do it. So the other one for shoulder health is, I'll see if I can do this without having my shirt come untucked, is can you bring your arms up and touch your biceps to your head? Is anybody finding this difficult? Couple. Good. So full healthy range of motion with shoulders is being able to come up, touch your biceps to your head. I only demonstrate these 2 because they're 2 of the ones that I'm actually good at. Good. All right, so we got to shake out a little bit and demonstrate how to check your mobility for limited range of motion to see if you have an increased risk of getting back pain, shoulder pain, something like that. So when you do these tests, it's not just as simple as does it have full range of motion. That's the primary requisite, but these tests should also be pain-free and easy. If you have full range of motion and pain, that's a red flag. That's not good. That means something else is damaged in the joint. If you can do it, but it's super difficult, that's another reason for you to start going, okay, this doesn't seem healthy. This should just come up, touch your head like that. So on that note, what limits mobility? Adhesion. Some of you may have heard of this before, as scar tissue. What this does is it acts like glue in your body and actually sticks muscles, nerves, ligaments, and other soft tissues together. It develops most commonly from overuse. So it gets the connotation, scar tissue, from when you have trauma and you physically tear a muscle. That's what glues it back together. It can also develop from overuse, which makes it a byproduct of our lifestyle. Secondarily is trauma, where you actually fall, sprain an ankle, tear a muscle, something like that. So not only does it make you less flexible, but it also makes you weaker. When you have scar tissue in a muscle or glue in a muscle, they can't contract as well as they normally would, which makes you weaker. And the other thing that can happen is called a nerve entrapment. Adhesion glues down a nerve. The nerves can't send the right signals for your body or your muscles to contract either. So what that does is that alone makes the joint less stable. When you don't have strength around there, it can't support it. So that also increases your injury risk. And what it comes down to is, can your body handle what you're asking it to do with work, exercise, your hobbies, skiing, all that? And why is this such a big deal? Because adhesion is the most common problem in the entire human body. It's also the most underdiagnosed, which means, unfortunately, there's very few people out there that are finding and fixing this thing. It is the most fixable condition in the entire human body with expert care. So, what can I do? Measure your mobility. Know your risks. Know if you're, so just to put numbers on this, we should have done this when we were doing it. When you're bending down and touching the ground, 100% is being able to touch the floor. 75% is about right here. 50% is at your knees. So the worse your range of motion, again, the more limited you are, the higher your injury risk. So know your risks, know where you're sitting at. So use the videos on the website, check it out. If there's a test that's limited, say you have shoulder pain, you go ahead and do that one and you go, oh crap, can't bring my arm up. Your first option to try is stretch, foam roll, yoga, all this stuff. Google a bunch of crap about how to get stretchier online, see if that works. Do that daily. for about 3 or 4 weeks. And I mean, if you don't want to spend money on fixing an injury, which is wrong priority, this is how you try to figure out whether or not you can get through that. Then you retest your mobility after 3 to 4 weeks, the same test. So then the question is, did it improve? If it did, good. You're lucky. You're still within the maintenance phase of this, which means like brushing your teeth to prevent cavities, stretching, foam rolling, all that stuff will keep healthy tissues healthy. So you got to catch it early enough first. So like brushing your teeth keeps your teeth healthy, but I doubt any of us are fixing our own cavities. The same way with adhesion. It requires expert care just like a dentist. So then the question is, 3 or 4 weeks after spending all that time Googling and stretching and turning yourself into a pretzel, and your test still didn't improve. Your last resort, make sure your diet and sleep are on point. Maybe take a little bit of time off because recovery is key, but it's underappreciated. Next best thing, just reduce your overall load. Decrease the weights, decrease the intensity or the frequency by about 20%. See if that gets you out of pain. If it still persists, you need expert care. It's as simple as that. There's no magic stress or stretch, exercise, potion, or lotion. Maybe someone who understands the mechanics of injury, someone who treats the most common problem in the body. So the goal is lifelong health, not to spend the last third of it bedridden. So finally, to recap, weight loss is a healthy mix of exercise and diet. And of course, purpose and all the stuff Sandro so passionately told you guys about. All of that is absolutely critical, but you need to be able to exercise. You need to be able to physically move, and that's difficult to do when you're dealing with an injury or trying to pretend you don't have one. So weight loss requires consistency. Most injuries are from overuse, limited mobility, and adhesion. Like blood pressure, you can measure your risk, but ignoring it doesn't make it go away, and in fact, it jeopardizes your long-term weight loss and weight loss maintenance. The answer to that, moderation is key. Stay on top of that bell curve. Make sure when you're working out and digging your hole that you're recovering every single time. So again, how to avoid injuries, know your risk. Decreased mobility increases injury risk. Test yourself, use the videos, work with Sandro and Sarah to avoid painful exercises. Modify the workout, try stretching, foam rolling, yoga, and all that. Did it improve your mobility objectively though? That's the key. Because even if you feel looser, if your test didn't change, you're not any healthier. So knowing how critical limited mobility is to injury risk and saving your workout routine for the long term, the concepts that I want you to understand are healthy movement means healthy load. Healthy load means healthy tissues. Healthy tissues are pain-free and last a long time. So make sure your healthcare professional is finding and fixing adhesion. If they don't, or you just aren't getting better, I'm happy to help. And as part of this seminar, you do get an in-office consultation with me. Come in, 15 minutes, talk about what you got going on, ask any questions, and we'll see what you got going on. So whether this has been interesting, boring, or confusing, do you guys have any questions?
So do you see yoga's benefit is really the mobility piece?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on what you get out of it. Some people do yoga for the meditative purpose of it. It's getting more in tune with your body. What yoga can help you do besides just go through good ranges of motion is get more in tune with something that's not working. So if you're like, again, a knee injury or something and you're in there stretching, it's gonna go, yeah, this really isn't working out even though I'm going through all these crazy ranges of motion. So yoga's great. It's one of those ones where if you are someone that overtrains, generally what I tell some of my patients is take a day off. Do yoga, do something that's low impact. You can still get a workout in, but range of motion is important. It's like flossing. You want to keep everything moving. So yoga is a good one to do.
So is a tight muscle caused by an adhesion?
It's a great question. It can be, yeah. Most of the time, tight muscles do have scar tissue in there. another concept, and not to get too deep, is protective tension. So a muscle can pull tight to keep you from damaging something else. So it's the same kind of concept as if you sprain your ankle, you limp off of it. What the body does when you're doing a range of motion, if you can't just immediately unload it, a muscle pulls tight because it doesn't want you to go into the range of motion that's going to potentially damage it even further. So it's a protective mechanism. So yes and no. Most commonly, tight muscles are from some form of adhesion in some muscle. It may not just be directly, you have tight hamstrings, that there's adhesion right in the hamstring. So does that make sense? Okay. Anyone else? Perfect. Thank you, guys.
So there you have the talk. I think he made a very convincing talk. I'm going to summarize the things that I think are important that he mentioned, which I don't think I'm gonna cover everything. Please, if you think I'm missing something important and you wanna comment that you think it really makes you click and understand that you need to take care of your pain, please put it in the comment area. In the meantime, I'm gonna tell you the points that I think are important. How fast you break down is your choice. So if you wanna get all healthy, you want to make good choices by taking care of yourself, by eating healthy, sleeping, you have good nights of sleep, by exercising, and by taking care of your injuries. Another thing that I think he mentioned that really makes me understand why some of our clients have a difficulty coming in exercise is pain crushes your motivation to work out. So many people, we are so strong that pain doesn't really crush your motivation to work out, but there is other people who actually do. So take care of those pains by the recommendation that he gives you. And the third point, there is a difference between exercise soreness and pain. So know the difference between one and the other. He went through what's the difference. I recommend you go back if you want to understand the differences. It's a good point that he made right there. You don't exercise once and you get in shape. You need to exercise many times for life to stay in shape. So for you to be able to do that, you need to get rid of pain so you are motivated to exercise. Remember, the bell curve of exercise, it needs to be just right. If you don't exercise enough, you don't get results. If you exercise too much, then you overdoing it and you also don't get results. Make sure you exercise enough. So those are the points that really catch my ear, and that's what I got from this talk. Of course, there is a lot more information on how can I take care of my muscles, the things that I can do to get rid of that adhesion that he's talking about. Anyway, so that's my summary. Hope you like this information. Please share this information with people that you know that are in pain, who need help, so they can understand how can they get help and have a better life and continue with the weight loss program. Thank you so much for continuing with us. I really appreciate it. Thank you for sharing our episode. We're growing because of you. I really, I'm very thankful for it. And as you probably already know, stay healthy mentally and physically, and stay close to God. And we are going to tune in the next episode.